Hi everyone, it's Rob Koenig, Trail Ambassador for Skidoo, and today I'm going to install these Woody's Executive 8-inch carbides on my new sled and then move the stock carbides to the outboard edges. Okay, first thing we're going to do is get the sled up in the air and then take this ski off, and then we'll start with the carbide replacement. Okay, now I've got the ski off of the spindle here. And I've gone ahead and loosened up the two nuts on the stock carbide. And a little trick I have here is you never want to beat on the thread, so I just put the socket on the nut while it's still partially threaded on the stud of the carbide. And then I give it a nice little tap with a hammer, and then that frees it up, and then you can just turn it over and pull the carbide out after you take the nuts off. Now that it's free, I can go ahead and flip it over. Okay, with the ski off, you can see the stock carbide right here. It's about 4 inches of carbide insert. And I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to replace it with the Woody's 8-inch. Right there, just like that. And you can see that there's quite a bit more carbide cutting edge on this particular carbide. Okay, the Woody's Executive is now installed. And now what I like to do is take this stock carbide and install it on the outboard edge over here. What that does is it preserves this edge here from excessive wear when you're riding on the trails, and also gives you a little bit extra steering ability because it will increase the keel length of this outboard edge. But primarily I put it on here to keep this edge from wearing away. And I've seen these skis after a while running them on the trails. If you don't put anything in here, this whole side will just wear down flush, and there won't be anything any material left to even put a carbide in. So that's what I do on all my new sleds. I've been doing this for years. I just move the stock one to the outboard side here and then put the 8-inch on the center, and then I'm ready to go. Hopefully you can see this, but I'm filming right now the outboard edge of the left ski. And there's a couple little pads here, right here and right here, little flat surfaces, and they're angled a little bit towards the rear at about 30 to 40 degrees. And what I do to find out, I got to drill a couple holes here to mount this carbide because the ski doesn't come pre-drilled. So what I do is I put the carbide on here upside down, kind of like a reverse jig. And then I just find the center to distance, and then I scribe it with a mark, and then I'll go ahead and drill a couple holes, starting with a pilot hole, and then gradually open it up to the size of the stud on the carbide here. Okay, you may be able to see that I've drilled a pilot hole here, and in the front portion here. And this is where we're going to drill the 2 holes to mount the stock carbide to the outboard edges of the skis. Okay, now that I've got my holes drilled and they're the proper size, I basically just take a drill bit and hold it up to the stud of the carbide until I get one that's just slightly bigger than the diameter of the stud on the carbide. And then I drill these 2 holes to size right here. And like I said, once you get those holes drilled, if your center to center is pretty accurate, and it should be, all you got to do is drill them in the center of those 2 pads. Your stock carbide will slip right up neatly through those 2 holes. And one of the reasons that I like to pick a drill bit that's just barely bigger than the stud is I don't like to have a lot of slop in these holes. I'd like them to be fairly snug so that the carbide is held firmly in place. And now we tighten up the nuts on the stock carbide and go back and forth and just tighten them evenly. Don't draw one all the way up without even starting on the other one. And another thing you don't want to do, I kind of choke up on the handle of the wrench like this. I don't get way back here and get a lot of leverage. These are plastic skis, and these are lock nuts, so there's no need to torque them until the head twists off and then back them out a quarter. Just tighten them up nice and firmly, and don't mushroom out the plastic by over torquing them, and you'll be just fine. Just get them snugged up and it's good to go. Now you can see the nuts for the Woody's 8-inch in the middle and the stock carbides, which have been moved to the outboard edge. Okay, I'm coming over to the right ski now, and as you can see, this one has not been changed yet. The stock carbide is still on the center, and I have to drill the holes in the outboard edge to put the stock carbide on the edge. This one I'm just going to do on the sled. I'm not going to even remove the ski. It's actually about as easy, and you don't have to worry about taking the ski off. I only took the ski off just to kind of show you the underside of the ski and what you're trying to protect by moving the stock carbide to the outside. But once you understand that concept, there's really no need to take the ski off the spindle. Just go ahead and remove the center stock carbide and drill your holes and move it to the outside edge. Okay, I've gone ahead and loosened the stock carbide nuts, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a socket on there. I don't want to damage the threads of the stud, so I just give that a little tap, and I don't know if you saw it drop, but now the carbide has, the hose bar has dropped down out of the slot below, and it'll be easy to remove by hand. Again, putting the stock carbide on the outside edge, I go ahead and turn the carbide upside down, use it kind of like a reverse jig, and then just find the spot here on the center of the pad. The other one will line up also, and then scribe a mark 90 degrees to that, just a little line so that you can see where your two pilot holes will go so that you get your center to center correct. Now you might be able to see the scribe that I put in the pad right here, this line on the pad. And then if you notice, there's a ribbed edge right here. This is actually marking or going right down the center line of this pad here. So you have your scribed mark, if I can get that in the light there, and that rib, and between the two, that's going to give you the coordinates of where you want to put that drill bit, and then put it at an angle that matches the pad. And again, I'm using a smaller bit here to just drill a pilot hole, and then just go ahead. And like I was saying on the front one up here, before I drilled it, just go ahead and line up with this rib here, and then come down to your scribe mark, set your drill bit, and start drilling. And there it is. Okay, now that I've got the pilot holes drilled, I've replaced the drill bit with one that's slightly bigger than the stud diameter on the stock carbide. And we'll go ahead and finish these off and drill these two holes to the proper size. Okay, both holes are drilled to size. Now it's the moment of truth. Let's see if we've got the center to center done right. And it looks like it dropped right in. The hose bar has come up all the way into the groove underneath. And the studs are fully exposed here, ready for nuts. Again, don't over torque these nuts, just snug them up. And when you feel resistance, just go ahead and stop, because they are plastic skis and you can easily over tighten these nuts. Again, I move back and forth and tighten each one up gradually until both of them are snugged up. Okay, and there's the finished product. We've got Woody's Executive 8-inch carbides mounted to the center and the stock carbides mounted on the outside. And this ski is going to last a lot longer, and the sled is going to handle and steer a lot better on icy trails. I hope you found this informative, and have a great season.